Get ready to dare to wonder what your life would be like if you knew you could not fail. Wow, everybody, welcome. It's so great to have all of you tune us in and turn us on. We've got a great lineup for you today. I'm really excited about it. Two amazing people that have said yes to a life path, but that life path is it's in service. It's in service of you. It's in service of the world. It's in service. And so when you think about that, I really have to think about it a lot lately, especially after I wrote that chapter for Peggy in her book. And I thought about a couple things that people have said. And I stopped for a minute and I thought to myself, I did not sit down and have an Akashic record reading or something like that. You know, what I realized about how I got here to be honored to be in the presence of all of you amazing people is by stepping in a few potholes, understanding that that felt not good, and then understanding what happens when you make decisions that feel so easy, you don't even think about it, you don't look back. Living a life that takes you on a path where you are just waking up, breathing, smiling. You understand there's things in the world that bother you, but you're not really about them. And I didn't wake up one day and say to myself, I think I'm going to do this. I think this is it. I just know that there was a point in my life where I realized I don't want people to go through the kinds of things I went through in my life if I can help it. And this happens to be the way. My guess, yeah, Lisa Estabrook, same. Artist, mother, way shower, author, home herbalist, love that. Plant whisperer, got a lot of questions for her. Spent 30 years, maybe more, I don't know. But the point is, spent a large chunk of time of her life to create something meaningful, heart-led, right? Healthy and joyful. And I want to stop here a minute and say healthy and joyful, because yesterday I got a bunch of emails from you all about really, you were that sick. You had that thing. You got that help. And what I learned along the way from so many people, and Benny, you remember Katya, right? Of Urban
Wellness.
Urban
Yeah.
Wellness.
Katya Defani.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And people like Katya, for me, help me understand what it is in the power of plant spirit, anything. And so when Linda says to me, why do you have so many plants? Do you really need another plant? I don't have to explain it to her. I'm just going to send her to my soulflower.com. I'm going to send her over to Lisa. And I'm going to say, I don't have an explanation, but here's what I know. There's an energy. And there's an energy that is so ancient that before you could go to your local pharmacy, this is what people did. Plants, flower energy, the rituals that were established around this. And by the way, today, one of the most used indigenous herbs universally is sage. But today, we're going to hear from this amazing woman, this author, what you should know and what the community is about. Lisa, it's great to have you. Thank you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here, Pat.
I want to just get I want to get a little background.
Yeah.
And to start, because we are going to talk about, the Soulflower Oracle. We are going to talk about that. There is more to talk about for a minute. And the more that I want us to talk about is the power of what we've learned from those that have come before, right? And what do I mean by that? I mean, if we could think for a minute about the community that has come before, if we can think about thousands and thousands of years ago, when people looked at the land, right? And just for lack of a better word, they look at the land, they looked up what was available to them. They couldn't get in their SUV and drive down the road. They're like, oh, what's this flower? And they created the essence of the wisdom that has been passed forward to us. For me, here's my question to you. What's created the wisdom for you to enable you to be on the life path you're on today?
Pat, it was a deep remembering that I am part of that web that you just spoke of, that I'm not separate from the earth. I am earth. I mean, we talk about this in terms of like, we're a part of nature. We live on this earth, but we are actually earth itself. We are made of the same atoms and molecules that the plants are made of, that the rocks are made of. We're all recycled over and over and over. And for me, in my own journey, it was remembering that I am a part of this, and that all the wisdom that is held in the earth for all these generations is held in my DNA, in my cells of my body. And, we just have in our modern world so many distractions, and an underlying paradigm of searching outside of ourselves for and accepting wisdom from external experts. We are very disempowered in that way, and we don't trust what we know, for ourselves. And so for me, and I was very much a part of that, very much a part of that. It was only until my 40s that I realized, well, hey, I've followed this direction from, this is classic midlife, right? I followed direction from loving parents, community that supported me. I grew up a very privileged lifestyle, all those sorts of things. I did everything I was supposed to do, and I was not happy, and I was not healthy. And so for me, that was the wake up call where my body was so loud, and our bodies are so wise, and they're communicating with us as much as any other consciousness outside. The plants are another human. They're talking to us all the time. And I just had spent my lifetime, shutting it down, numbing it, taking a painkiller because I'm in pain, or whatever it is. I wasn't willing to accept responsibility for my own life journey until I was. And so for me, it's been a decade now of learning to trust my inner wisdom, learning to trust what I know to be true, and empowering myself, taking responsibility for my life, and taking responsibility for the choices that I make, and knowing that I'm fully responsible for it all. And, just feeling empowered to know that life isn't always going to be, the roses, the bed of roses, there's the thorns too. And that's part of it. And, it's nothing personal. It's all helping us grow, us grow. And so I just remember that as basically a complicated houseplant, that's really where I got to. And I need the same care and tending that I give to my children, that I give to my plants, to my animals, all that. So that's been the journey for me. That's been the journey.
I had to ask the question for a lot of reasons. One is, I know for myself now, I'm getting asked these questions myself, and there's always a beautiful story that lead people to where they are. There's also a beautiful story that leads us to Soulflower Oracle, and just the idea of soul, flower, plant, spirit, right? Just saying that. Because we're here to tell everybody today, we are talking about that. We are talking about Soulflower, Plant, Spirit, Oracle deck, and Guidebook with Lisa, of course. But we're talking about the energy of it. Why is it so important in the world we're living in today? What is it about the energy? And I believe there are 44 in the deck, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah.
What is it about the energy of these that transcends anything we want to think about in terms of resistance, and points us to an incredible focus of wisdom for each and every one of them? And I want to ask you, look, this took you several years to create.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a reason. See, I think anytime something takes that long, it's directly the equivalent to how much is needed in the world.
Mm.
What was your sense of the world needing this now?
A great deal. Like I said, we've forgotten our power. We've forgotten as women, so for me, as really about remembering the divine feminine and embodying that, remembering it, healing it, and embodying it. And when I say healing, I'm not talking about curing a physical symptom. I'm talking about remembering the wholeness of who I am. And the flowers, we are all in relationship with the plants. We're all in relationship with the flowers already. And so for me, the creation of this deck was a beautiful dance with each of these flowers. Each one of them came, into my life to help me remember an aspect of my own soul that I had forgotten, a soul quality, if you like. And so each one of them came in, and I would be in relationship with them during that time. And I had to really let go. I mean, Dandelion is on the cover of this. Dandelion is about letting go, releasing. And there's many, many lessons in that. She's an ally that I've had since a child. Many of us have. We all remember going around and blowing dandelion seeds and making wishes, right? Well, I didn't know I was making an oracle deck. I just knew I was on a healing journey. It wasn't until I was about halfway through the deck that I was told by one of the flowers that you need to share this. You need to make this into a deck. And I had this dream as well. I woke up from no, I don't want to do that. This is personal. This is what I'm doing. And this dream was like, I woke up, and you're in that sort of dream, that liminal space. And I just could hear, you're a way shower, you're a way shower, you're a way shower. So I went through all this time, all this space of like, oh, what are my credentials to do this? Where is my, and that's part of the medicine. I don't need any credentials, that I can have this, I can share my healing journey from my own perspective, and with the hopes of inspiring somebody else, even if it's 1 heart or 10 hearts, to trust their own heart, to follow their own inner wisdom, to follow their own unique path and journey. So for me, sharing this has been an evolution in and of itself, from the moment I self-published it to the moment it's been picked up by Inner Traditions and Fintorn Press. It's all been a journey for me of releasing and letting go and trusting, and allowing, nature, spirit to move through me in the way that it wants to. And now I am happy, and I am my joyful life in every single moment, and I'm pinching myself, but I had to go through that dark night. I had to face it. And we all have to, and we're doing it collectively now. We're doing it collectively now, that we're healing on a global scale the separation from the divine feminine and the divine masculine. We're learning to re-embody this wisdom and this knowledge. And people that are women, the hearts that are hurt, be it the earth, be it themselves, whatever. So, and it's just, this is 1 heart at a time. This is a 1 heart at a time, 1 day at a time, 1 moment at a time process. And I'm just here, like, doing my thing, and knowing that I, there's like the wisdom of the 7 generations back and the 7 generations forward. My children are in their late teens and 20s, and they're at a place where I was when I was in my mid 40s. So it's like every time we are willing to look at the circumstances of our lives and see it as, for me, I see it as the soil for our own personal growth. It's like nothing is, letting go of judgment. That's another letting go. Big issue, for so many of us, and our minds are prisons, and they just kind of separate us from our heart's truth. And so I just felt called to share my work and to share my process, and just to be the most authentic person, share my truth as authentically as I could, with the hopes of inspiring others.
Well, I mean, let's talk about this for a little bit, based on what you said, because I really want to touch on a couple of things. I totally agree with you about 7th generation. You know what? From day one, when this young woman was a child and emerged on the scenes and became known as Greta. Of course, now she's Greta Thunberg. Of course, now she's grown. Of course, now she's faced more challenges. Her family's life has been threatened over and over again, but she has not faltered, right? But look what she's representing, exactly what you said. The other thing I want to get to is in my own healing journey. If I'd have gotten this book a number of years ago with the dandelion on the cover, right, there would have been such a level of skepticism from me. But then I got sick. Mm-hmm. And then I learned about it. But I want to talk about dandelion first before we go on to talk about anything else. Mm-hmm. Because many people see them in the field. They don't know what they are, right? But they may see them at a different stage of their evolution. Mm-hmm. But what I learned along the way, and I cringed, like when Dr. Darvish sent me to Katya and said, have her make a combination of dandelion tea, ... I was like, what? I said, dandelion, spell it. Like, it's like this the thing that grows like everywhere. And then I learned about it. Let's talk about the energy and the spirit of what's on your cover. Because many people see it. They don't see them in their final stage. You may see them as wild, we call them weeds. Absolutely. They grow everywhere. They're beautiful to have. I love them. But very few people understand the energetic and the health benefit. Can you talk to that for a minute?
Yeah, so they're in the sunflower family. I like to tell people that because, sunflowers are so beloved, I mean, it's just a little mini sunflower there. And they're medicinals. They have a deep, deep taproot, and they help within your body, they help to detoxify. They help to purify your own blood system, your liver, and all those aspects. And, I've used dandelion medicinally and as a food for, it's been supporting me through menopause, everything. It like helps to just support your blood. It's chock full of minerals and vitamins, and the leaves. Every part of it is edible. And it was actually, I think it was brought to this country as a food plant, as a crop, and now it's energetically, it really makes me smile how we're at war with dandelions. There's a company around here that sprays weeds, and it's the logo is a dandelion right there, like this, and to me it's come to represent this war on ourselves, and on nature itself. And dandelion is one of the first responders for all of it. I mean, that level, she's one of the first responders. Every single piece of disturbed earth or where we've paved, she can find her way in and her way through, to be there for you. And so I have a funny story about dandelion, because when I was working with it for, honestly, about 6 months of painting and sketching and sitting with dandelion, and the way that the plant spirits work for me, it's story medicine. So I pay attention to what's happening in my life, what's going on, what are the stories that are happening. And then when I become aware of dandelion and what's happening at the same time, it's like your perception expands and you make the connections, and it's a full body aha moment. And so I was sitting in the garden, and it was right around that time when that Disney movie Frozen was playing, and my 3 young kids are running around the yard through all the dandelions, screaming, let it go, and I had this classic moment of, yes, I get it. My mind, I am, so locked into this idea that I can figure everything out. That if I could just, do the right things, that I can be happy, be healthy, all that kind of stuff. So it was just this deep resonant moment of release and letting go. And, I have suffered with headaches my whole life, and I think that part of that is, energetically just being in my head so much, and we sing, we worship the intellect. We've forgotten the heart and the body wisdom, and dandelion reminds us of that, and she's everywhere to remind us of that. to try to bring us back into to ground, to root back into the earth.
Yeah. And the reason I wanted to bring it up is because I want to just say to people, you're right. We battle them every day. And of course, when I think about your book, we're going to talk about this too in a little bit when we come back from break. We're also talking about, and I just want people to know this, if you're just tuning in, we're talking with Lisa Estabrook. And Lisa, we're talking about Soulflower Plant Spiritual Oracle. Before we jump ahead, right? How do people find out about you? How do they get this? Because now I believe it's available and has been available. I believe Amazon, but your website tells people where they can get things, right?
Yeah. Well, you can get it from my website. You can go to my website and try the free daily pick there. You can go there, and I don't collect information, personal information. It's really important to me that people choose to be. I'm not there to sell them anything. Come and see, come and try it out. And then I have 7 years of blog posts and essays about my experiences with this. So you can deep dive directly on my website. You can then go to your local, you can buy it from me. You could go to your local bookstore. I encourage you to do that. Of course, you can get it from Amazon, Barnes and Noble, etc. So, but I feel like it's just like oracle cards. They're not fortune telling cards. They're not fortune telling. I see them as mirrors. Everything is energy, and we're all vibrating at a certain frequency, which changes throughout the day. And when you pull an oracle card, you're going to pull the card that matches what you are going through. So you most hear what you need to hear, and it's nothing that you don't already know. That's what I like to do. So I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know. All I'm doing is reminding you, which is what the plants have done for me. And the plants have been my mentors. They've been my teachers, and I wanted a teacher that spoke English. I had to learn to speak heart.
You and me both, sister.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, look, I've often thought about this. I never thought in a million years that I'm this kid growing up in the Bronx, lived in the projects, jumped on a bed, hit my head up against a radiator. They said that I had a near-death experience. They had to bring me back. Don't remember any of it. Got a really cool little scar that I thought about tattooing, but I'm not. But then I went through the life that everybody goes through. A little bit rough until I was about 18, right? Mm-hmm. But when I came off of the streets from being homeless in the concrete jungle, I never thought if you'd ask me, Pat, do you see yourself living in one of the most beautiful places on the planet, the Pacific Northwest? I'm not saying there are other places, because I love the desert, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But every day I'm so grateful for my life. Yeah. And I love that you talked about this as this is not a one size fits all, because somebody said to me the other day, I think you'll appreciate this. They said to me, oh my gosh, Pat, are you getting ready for this new moon in Cancer? And I thought, well, wait a minute, not everybody. And then I looked it up, and there are I went back to my friend and I said, look, life is not a one size fits all. Mm-hmm. I don't know two people, I really don't, that have the same experiences, even in the grocery store. And I said, let me just say something to you. It's really an interesting, great new moon. And just for the record, there are 3 signs that are not affected by it. My sign of Sagittarius is one of them. And yet I woke up this morning crying. And so I had to text my friend back, and I said, maybe a little bit. And that's really why I wanted you to share this, because it doesn't matter which, and we're going to talk about these. Do you have a favorite? Is there one today that you're drawn to? But dandelion, and that's why I asked you about it. When we come back from break, we're going to talk about the others. I learned the healing power. I learned it was a food. Mm-hmm. I learned it was a tea. Mm-hmm. I learned that it had over 10 We have to say emerging benefits. I have to have the caveat that says, I'm not a doctor. The FDA hasn't approved what I'm about to say. But we've learned from multi-generational people that not only is there an energy, but think about an energy of something like dandelion that has so much nutrition in it, highly nutrition. You can eat dandelion greens raw. You can get vitamin A, vitamin C. Think about what I'm saying. And if I'm talking about one of the plants that Lisa's going to talk about, antioxidants, anti-inflammatory, blood sugar management, triglycerides, lower blood pressure, liver health, weight loss, anti-cancer. Now you can Google these. One plant.
Yeah.
What does Lisa know? When we come back, it's going to take us through a couple of them, but more importantly, why is this called Soulflower? Why is this, she says, you're a seeker like me? You know, someplace deep in your bones that we, and that as we heal ourselves, as we each remember ourselves whole, we will heal the earth. Benny, Micah, let's take a short break. We'll be right back. My very special guest.
All clear.
Are you ready to experience full body system wellness? Tune in to the Empower Me Show with Pam Bright, a spiritual toolbox for your life. Embrace the fullness of who you are as a spiritual being having a human experience. Pam Bright is a multidimensional healer, light language channel, energy intuitive, and spiritual transformation coach. Join her for a rich conversation about how to unlock all your spiritual gifts on Transformation Talk Radio.
Are you having difficulty feeling at home in your own home? Join Annette Rigolo and Dr. Pat in Enlightened Environments, Optimizing from the Outside In, as they present a deep dive into the various vibrations of the earth, along with man-made energies that impact our lives. Using the diamond dowsing method, we will utilize specific vibrations to elevate our own homes to support us and expand us with their energy. Join us every third Wednesday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific Time to make your home home.
It is time to get inspired to take action in your life. Tune in to Emotional Elevation with me, Susan Dene. We are identifying, understanding, and treating our crazy one episode at a time. We all have crazy in our lives. The thing that sets us apart is how we deal with it. And I've got you covered. Enjoy your journey. You are worth it. Visit susandene.com. That's DENEE.com.
Illuminate your inner framework now with Shelley Hoffberg and Stephanie Salt on the show Intuitive Diagnostics on Psychic Horizons. For you to find the keys to your highest path, it is vital that you see what is happening within your inner metric of you and those around you. They'll help you utilize soul architecture so that you can unravel the highest plan of life actualization for you. Manifest your unique life mission now, every Thursday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Are you ready to get big and live your life out loud? Tune in to Get Big Out Loud Radio, exploring life through the lens of curiosity and compassion, with me, Carrie Knudsen, joining Dr. Pat live every second Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com. I will offer ideas to transform what you are thinking into conscious action. If you want to get big and live your life out loud, visit me at KnudsenSpeaks.com.
Are you wondering who you are meant to be in this ever-changing world right now? Kelly Kay is a certified new paradigm, multidimensional transformation energy healer, ready to assist you in this transformative process of expanding your consciousness. She helps you transmute your wounds and traumas into healing, growth, and wisdom, resulting in self-empowerment and freedom from fear. Visit enlightenedmedicine.com to learn more.
Ready to come back in, ladies? The road roses that grow are God's way of letting us know the most beautiful things.
Hey, Benny, did you just play that?
Well, yeah.
That is so cool. Thank you,
Sure.
Benny. Before we go, and you're going to walk us through the book, maybe you'll even share some of the other little plant spirits in the book.
Yeah.
I also want people to be able to go to your website, because this isn't the only book you wrote. I mean, you also wrote the plant spirit field guide.
Yeah.
One of my favorites. And then I love the daily practice. So how do people find out about you, if you don't mind? And let's get them there. And then I would love for you to walk us on a soul journey, a Soulflower journey of the book. And I am going to ask you if you have a favorite today. But again, how do people get the deck? How do they find out about you?
Go to mysoulflower.com. You can play with the deck right there. You can choose a card, you can practice, and you can learn. There's a library of plant spirit wisdom blog posts that you can dive into, dig as deep as you want, and you will be led on a journey from, through the site.
Yeah. And then please, can you tell us, but before we go, it's important to tell them about the community that you created as well.
Yeah, so I have a Mighty Network community, which I founded. It's hosted by myself and an Earth Wisdom Council of women who are each on their own unique journeys, and we're all just there to support those that want to learn more about the plants, want to learn more about themselves, and just want to find a kindred group of women. It is for women to share in the journey of self-discovery. So it's like a social media platform, but it's really not. It's very safe and very and small, and just and we learn about ourselves through all of our relationships, and this is really a way to utilize this incredible technology that we have to connect with others in a way that's meaningful, and not one way.
Yeah.
Of course, I am on Instagram and Facebook, but really not very much. So it doesn't fuel me, and it doesn't feel right in my heart. So I go to the community network. So.
Yeah, I just joined the community, and thank you for giving us multiple options on how to participate.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love this. I love what you're doing in the community. I love the way people are participating in the community. And what is more, I mean, can we think about anything that's more beautiful than taking pictures of plants and flowers and things like that, right?
Right.
I took a picture of these roses I have out front, and I'm very drawn to roses, rose water, everything about it.
Yeah.
But what I love about what you're doing, and let's talk about this for a minute because it's very important to me, is we're talking about the energy, the Soulflower plant spirit. Can you take us through what you've created here? Now, I would love for you to also talk about some of the Soulflowers in here that maybe people don't know about. And I know people did not know about dandelion because I just got 3 text messages on my phone about that. And so they want me to give the website where I found that information. But take us through this. I mean, it's always difficult, I would imagine. What do you select? Which ones do you leave out, right? How did you come to that?
I didn't choose. I was led.
Thank you.
I had my nice little mental list of, all these flowers grow in my garden and they grow in the woods around my home. And I had my list. Once I knew I was doing the deck, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. And how many should I put in there? 48, 72? I don't know. I had to let go of that because I would be walking through the woods, and I came across periwinkle, vinca minor, a beautiful ground cover. It was late winter. It was in bloom, and it wasn't supposed to be. It got my attention, and that's how they get your attention, and it drew me in, and I began my relationship with periwinkle. And and it came at a time in my life where that was the lost card that I made. That was the lost card I made. And and it was like, enough already. You have gone through this journey. It's time to release this deck. It's time to, take all the wisdom learned and now, go to your growth edge and start the next part of your journey. So, each of these flowers that were in here, some of them I was much more familiar with than others. Some were new to me. in this, in this deck. And I've since, it's been a decade since I started this. And each of my relationships with these flowers continues to grow. People say, well, are you going to make another deck? No, I'm not. There's 44 really close friends, really, really close friends. And every time I connect with these flowers or I journey with them, and I'm not talking a shamanic journey. For me, journeying with the flowers is in my everyday consciousness, in my waking consciousness. And every time I do that, I learn more. It's like being in relationship with another human. You never know everything about even your closest relationships. You're always learning more, and we're always growing, and we're always changing. So these relationships continue to be dynamic, and the wisdom that they share with me is shared through my stories. That's how, I think earth wisdom is shared. It's in each of our stories. And so if someone else is in the community with me and we're journeying for a moon cycle with a particular flower, when they share their stories, that is part of the medicine. Because if you're holding the intention, like right now, we just welcomed in daffodil for this moon cycle. And I chose that on the winter solstice. I didn't, I just kind of randomly, I have a ceremony I do at the winter solstice, and I invite all the flowers in for the year ahead. So I knew who was coming in for me at this time. And, so I introduce it into the community there. And then if anyone else is also holding the intention to travel with daffodil, everything that happens in their life, all the awakening information, all the experiences they have, it's all part of the picture. And daffodil is about perception, and so we each have our little, like, if you think of daffodil like a little flashlight, like a little trumpet flashlight, it's like it illuminates one little aspect of what we call life from my perspective, right? But when we sit in circle with other women and we're sharing this, we're all illuminating a part of the story of life. And it's just beautiful. It's beautiful how we learn more about ourselves through sharing our stories, and how we learn more about the plants in the same way. And the synchronicities are off the charts, always. So, and I know that this is, the messages from daffodil is exactly what we need right now. It's really potent medicine for all of us. It's, around letting go of judgment.
Yeah. It's an interesting energy, especially given the new moon that just happened, the new moon in Cancer, and what everybody talks about with that new moon. But it's also, this is where this is a time to set intentions and to plant seeds. Absolutely. And here's a confusing thing that people get about judgments. I actually teach an entire class on it. Because the misconception about judgment is the same misconception we have about forgiveness.
Yeah.
And so when we say we have to let go of judgments, most people think that means I do nothing.
Right.
Right. Right. So I have a judgment about this global thing happening. No, that's not what we say and it's not what we mean when we say let go of judgments. That's not what we're saying. But when you hold on to a judgment to the point where it becomes a resentment, then it turns into anger, then it just all consumes every part of your life. And it could be the judgment you have about your mom's chicken cacciatore.
It could be anything.
Anything.
It's our attachment to it. It's our attachment to it, to making it a story that becomes our prison.
Right.
And it's forgiveness, just like it's not forgiveness.
Everything.
Everything outside of us, but our own selves, forgiveness of ourselves that we find ourselves in judgment. And so to me, it's just like becoming the witness and the observer of my own life. That's really, that's how I use this Oracle deck. And that's how I share it for people. It's a self-care tool, and not self-care from a place of sort of wounded obligation. Like I have stuff to fix. There's something wrong with me. It's not self-care from that place. It's self-care from this loving, unconditionally loving and compassionate part of ourselves that is, and I feel that deeply in nature. And I feel like people already know this. Oh, I don't know this. Well, what do you do for somebody when they're not feeling well? You give them a bouquet of flowers. It elevates their mood, right? Helps them feel better. Watching a sunset, being out in the woods. We don't need to have an intellectual understanding, of the energetic components or the planets or any of that. We don't need to have any of that. Our bodies tell us, we can feel it, and then our minds, of course, try to rationalize and understand it. But, we're all in relationship with these plants already. We're all in relationship with many of these flowers that are in this deck. This is just a way of, deepening your relationship to yourself and the flowers at the same time through the wisdom of the flowers. So when I say self-care, I tell people to just take a daily pick, to just shuffle the cards and just say to yourself, just hold that intention. What do I need to be reminded of in this moment for my own highest good, which is the highest good of all? What do I need to be reminded of? And then I pick a card. And that's my starting point for self-reflection that day. That's how I water myself as the houseplant that I am. It's with my care and attention. And what we give our energy to, that's what thrives, right? And so we can do what you said. We can get all judgmental and angry and, using our energy to just, spread more disconnect and separation in the world, or we can use it to focus on what we want to grow, what we want to see more of. So, and that's the same, not shining that light within as well. So that's really the way I share. That's how I use these cards. That's how I continue to use these cards. And that's how I share others.
Yeah. Well, let me talk about light, because one of the card that really came up for me today was Aster. And when I looked at that and I thought, okay, I don't know much about it. I know the way they look. I love them, like they end up somewhere in my flower bed somewhere. But then I really looked at the meaning that you present and bring forward. And I thought to myself, okay, yeah, that is perfect for me, right? It's perfect. And when you look at it in the deck and the guide that you have, right, you talk about, the illumination,
right?
And I said, wow, there's no mistake about this. And then I read what you say about it, and I read about you talking about the idea that there are channels, right, of communication and self-expression and creativity and self-consciousness, and that this Aster helps us to manifest your creative ideas, right? I think, let me just help you to manifest your creative ideas, translating inspiration into physical form. And I'm telling you, when I woke up today, that is exactly the perfect card for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think there's any mistakes, not with, not when you're in relationship with that. And, and I like to say, like, people tend to pick that card perhaps when they're like, living beliefs like I'm not an artist, or I don't know how to, I don't know how to deal with this in my life, or I don't, so they tend to pull these things. I say to, you are a powerful creator. You even, like, what are you making for dinner tonight? You just have this thought about what you're going to make, and then next thing you know, it's like, it's, or if you order out, whatever, you've manifested this, to look at it from, at our lives with this level of like curiosity and magic, it's really powerful. And so Aster is just one of those plants that helps us to realize our potential as creators, and that we are creating every moment. We are creating everything in every moment. So
I love this, because it then goes on to talk about play. And I thought, what? I am going to later on today. Usually I go and play a sport on Wednesdays, but I'm not able to do it today. I'm going to go into my garage and play. And I thought, wow, not only are you giving us a daily practice, or you're giving us a beautiful quote, or you're giving us a beautiful meaning, you're also giving us, the essentials of how to be with the energy in life. Yeah. And that's what I loved about the way you've created this. What would you say is the least likely card, plant, flower that people even know about or have heard about?
Probably plumbago.
So let's talk about that for a minute, because there are going to be some that people relate to.
Yeah.
Right?
So yeah, Plumbago is about understanding, and it's deep shadow work. And I want to share the story of that one because Plumbago wasn't in my garden, and my middle daughter, gifted it to me when I was making the deck. She gifted me Plumbago, and I began the relationship. So here's like how the plants came into my garden. This is a dwarf variety. It called attention really to the masks that I was wearing, the numerous masks that I was wearing, and the labels that we assign to ourselves, and to to see all parts of myself as lovable, even those ones that I kind of didn't think were lovable. So, and we all wear masks. We all, here I'm the perfect mother, or I'm the expert in this. And so it was really for me, and it was given to me by my daughter. And she's the second daughter, the middle child, and the first child had a much easier time of things, and she didn't have as much of an easy time of things. And yet I was sort of comparing her, with my older daughter. And, our children are such good teachers for us, such good teachers for us, and so humbled by these beautiful souls that have come to teach me and help awaken me in my life. And she has a different way of viewing the world. And I had tried very hard to help her fit in, because I didn't want her to be uncomfortable. I didn't want her to have a hard time, right? And so it came from a very loving place. But what I was doing was putting a mask on her. What I was doing was saying, well, maybe if you do it this way, you'll be accepted more, or, like fitting in. And this is kind of what school does. Schools do, some of our communities that we are in, you have to be a certain way to be in the community, and so for me, it was really about just awakening to all these aspects, these shadow sides of myself, in a way that was understanding. I really gained a lot of understanding about why I chose to say the things I said and to do the things I did, and then to move through it. And my daughter brought that to me, and she taught me that. And, and she's an amazing young woman, absolutely amazing young woman. And all the things that made me uncomfortable for her, are her absolute blessings and gifts in this life. And she doesn't wear masks.
Yeah.
She is wholly who she is.
Yeah.
And
it's a beautiful flower too, right?
Yes, it is.
Let's just talk about it for a minute. I think it's blue, isn't it? Isn't it a beautiful blue?
Yeah, iridescent blue. And then the flower, the buds beneath it are like these spiky red, deep red, blood red, sepals that hold that bud in. And it's kind of like hidden. It's like behind everything, like the spiky, shadow side, the scariness, how does it feel to take this mask off? So it's around, really, it's around self-acceptance and a deep understanding that we are many things. We are many, many things.
First of all, I don't know your daughter, but I already admire her, because what space have you been able to create to have a child be able to present you with that message?
Yeah.
How beautiful is that? In the story of this, it really gets to Soulflower. Yeah. It really gets to the energy of what we're talking about, right, Lisa?
Yeah. It's I was raised, well, you have to respect, and your elders, and you have to be seen and not heard, and don't make waves. I can give you a whole bouquet of little things beliefs that I held about my life. And those are the things that I was untangling. Those are the things that I was letting go of, because they weren't my beliefs. Those are the beliefs that were imprisoning my heart,
Yeah. There's so many stories, and there's a story for every every one of these that
multiple
called to
stories.
you.
Multiple stories.
Yeah. And I want to just step back for a minute. First of all, thank you for joining me here today. I know we've got a few minutes left. Can you remind people one more time how they can find out more about you, the community, and how they can purchase the deck?
Yeah, absolutely. Please visit mysoulflower.com, and there is a links there to my shop. I sell my deck, I sell my books, and I also sell a lot of tools for helping you learn to, remember to how to build relationship with yourself, to how to set intentions, and how to work with the unconscious and bring it into a conscious reality, basically, which is all that we're all doing. And so, we just forget, we're always distracted. But for me, I create these temporary tattoos to help bring in those plant spirits. I have cards, all sorts of things. And my plant spirit blog there, where I do share these stories. And so, yeah, that's the best place to go. And you can purchase right from there, or you can purchase from your local bookseller or Amazon or Barnes & Noble, and all the usual places.
Look, couple minutes left. I want to really talk about how we're bringing something so ancient and so wise to a modern time. And there's no mistake about you writing this. And how we can plug into the energy from your perspective, because that's really the heart and the soul of what you put into this creation. And, as I look at this, and certainly for me to really pull that particular flower today out of everyone in there, there was such meaning to explain, where I was in the moment. I mean, beyond anything that I could even imagine. But the way you did it is you provide a safe space to the understanding. And in the couple of minutes we have left, can you talk to how important that is for you?
Well, I think this is, for me, it's about remembering that life is a gift. Life is a gift, and we can't control it. As much as we think that we can control it, we can't. This is a big part of the letting go. And so for me, there is an unequivocal safety, personal safety, in that knowing that I am held and supported by nature, by spirit, in my life, that I'm held and supported and guided by these flowers in my life. And for me, that's, and that I don't know everything. I'm not an expert. All I know is my own life and my own experience. But I do deeply believe that we each have that power to be our own teachers, to be our own healers, to be our own wise women. And for me, that's the dream that I'm holding the intention for. I want this deck to feel like a bouquet of flowers that you are receiving from my heart to yours. I've been there. I've been through this journey. I continue to go through this journey of life. And it's ever spiraling expansion and growth. And so I really just want people to feel empowered when they hold this bouquet of flowers.
Yeah.
And that know that deeply, that even if it doesn't feel apparent at this moment, that you're in partnership with all those, the experts in your life, the doctors, the teachers, you're in partnership with them, but you have to be in partnership. You have to be fully present and responsible and accept responsibility for your journey. And that's what I hope to share in my community. Yeah. And the way I support people is just by showing up. Yeah. Showing up, hey, I'm right here with you. We're all in this together. And, I can't fix it for you, but I can sure as hell love you why you do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And cheer you up. And that's what the
We
flowers.
need it.
Yeah,
We need that though. We need that.
That's the, I mean, and that is what all of nature is, and as our ancestors, as these wise beings, that is what nature is reflecting to us, this unconditional love. And so when, that's what I want people to do is to give that to themselves, give that to themselves.
Yeah. Thank you so much for today. Thank you for everything.
Yeah.
I mean, thank you for reminding us of, first of all, how simple it is for us to appreciate.
Yeah.
How wonderful it is.
Yeah.
And how easy it is for us to forget. And what you've done is reminded us. Lisa, thank you so much for everything you do. And thank you so much for sharing that beautiful story about your daughter.
Yeah.
And thank you so very, very much for continuing to help us all rise up, to shift our consciousness, even for a moment.
Absolutely.
Thank you for doing all that. And thank you for bringing